The Beggar Billionaire. A story of greed, innocence, and ultimate justice. The breaking point. Marcus Thompson sat in his corner office on the 47th floor of Thompson Financial Holdings, staring at the city skyline he'd worked 40 years to conquer. At 62, he was worth $3.2 billion. He'd built an empire from nothing, started with a single pawn shop in South Side Chicago, and turned it into a financial services company that served millions. But right now, listening to his children argue in the conference room next door, Marcus felt like the poorest man in the world. When Dad finally kicks the bucket, I'm selling the whole damn company. His eldest son, Deshaun's voice carried through the wall. Take the money and buy that villa in Monaco I've been looking at. You can't just sell, his daughter Keisha shot back. We need to keep it running long enough to squeeze out every dollar, then sell it piece by piece. That's how you maximize value. You're both idiots, his youngest son Andre added. Dad's share alone is worth over $2 billion. Split 3 ways, we're each getting around $650 million. Who cares about maximizing? That's more money than we can spend in 10 lifetimes. Marcus closed his eyes, fighting back tears. They were talking about his death like it was a business opportunity, like he was already gone. He'd given them everything. The best schools. Deshaun went to Harvard, Keisha to Yale, Andre to Stanford. Luxury cars on their 16th birthdays. Trust funds that paid them $50,000 a month just for existing. Summer homes, world travel, everything money could buy. And they couldn't wait for him to die. Dad's barely 62, Keisha continued. He could live another 20 years. I'm not waiting that long. Maybe we should, I don't know. Encourage him to retire. He's been having those chest pains. Are you seriously suggesting we stress him into a heart attack? Andre laughed. Keisha, that's cold even for you. I'm just saying, the man works 16-hour days. At his age, with his health issues, something's going to give eventually. Why should we pretend to care about a company we're just going to gut anyway? Marcus had heard enough. He stood up, his hands shaking with rage and heartbreak, and walked out of his office. He took the elevator down to the parking garage, got in his Bentley, and drove. He didn't go home to his mansion in Lincoln Park. He didn't call his assistant or his lawyer. He just drove, tears streaming down his face, until he found himself in the old neighborhood where he'd grown up, South Side Chicago, where he'd been born to a single mother who cleaned houses for a living, where he'd shared a 1-bedroom apartment with his mom and 3 siblings, where he'd learned that money wasn't everything, but the lack of it was. He parked the Bentley in front of a small church and sat there as the sun set, thinking about his life. His late wife, Angela, had died 5 years ago from cancer. She'd been his anchor, his moral compass. When the kids started getting spoiled and entitled, Angela would pull them back, remind them where they came from, make them volunteer at homeless shelters and food banks. But after she died, Marcus had buried his grief in work. He'd let the kids do whatever they wanted. He'd thrown money at problems instead of actually parenting. He'd been so focused on building his legacy that he'd failed to notice his children had become exactly the kind of people he'd spent his life fighting against. Greedy, entitled, heartless. God, Marcus whispered, looking up at the darkening sky. What do I do? How do I fix this? And then sitting in that parking lot in the neighborhood where he'd started with nothing, Marcus Thompson had an idea. A crazy idea. A dangerous idea. But maybe, just maybe, the only idea that could save his children's souls and expose the truth about who they really were. The plan Marcus spent the next week planning carefully. He met with his oldest friend and lawyer, James Mitchell, in a coffee shop far from the office. You want to do what? James nearly spit out his coffee. Fake my death, Marcus repeated calmly. Make it look like a heart attack. I've already talked to Dr. Rodriguez. He's willing to sign a death certificate for the right price and the right reasons. Marcus, this is insane, is it? My children are waiting for me to die, James. They're planning how to spend my money before I'm even in the ground. I need to know who they really are. Who really cared about Marcus the man versus Marcus the billionaire? James shook his head. And then what? You show up at your own funeral. No, I disappear. Completely. I become someone else for a while. Marcus pulled out a folder with photographs. See this street corner? 3 blocks from my old office building. I'm going to spend 90 days there as a homeless man, begging for change, watching my company from the outside, seeing how my children act when they think I'm gone. Marcus, you're 62 years old. You've had heart issues. Living on the street could actually kill you. I grew up poor, James. I've slept in worse places than a street corner. And I'll have you checking on me regularly. But I need to do this. I need to see the truth. James studied his friend's face. After 40 years, he knew that look. Marcus had made up his mind. Fine. But I'm documenting everything, and at the first sign of actual danger, we're pulling you out. James pulled out a legal pad. We'll need to set up the will, plan the funeral, create a safe way for you to observe without being recognized. I've already got the disguise worked out. Marcus smiled grimly. Homeless people are invisible in this city. Nobody looks at them. Nobody sees their faces. I could stand on that corner every day and my own children could walk past me without a second glance. That's what you're counting on, isn't it? That they won't see you because they never really saw you to begin with. Marcus's eyes were wet. They see my money, James. I need to know if there's anything else there. 3 weeks later, the funeral. The memorial service for Marcus Thompson was held at the Chicago Symphony Center. Over 2,000 people attended. Business leaders, politicians, celebrities, employees. The mayor gave a eulogy. The governor sent a video message. In the front row sat Deshawn, Keisha, and Andre Thompson, all dressed in expensive black designer clothes, all with appropriately somber expressions. Behind them sat Marcus's younger sister, Patricia, who knew the truth and was playing her part. She'd fought with Marcus about this plan, but ultimately agreed to help. Someone needed to watch the children while Marcus was gone. My brother was a giant among men, Patricia said from the podium, her voice breaking, not entirely from acting. He built something from nothing. He gave opportunity to thousands. He changed lives, and he loved his children more than anything in this world. As she spoke, she watched Deshawn check his phone, watched Keisha whisper to her husband, probably about estate planning. Watched Andre stifle a yawn. Not one of them was crying. After the service, Patricia approached them at the reception. Your father would be so proud of how you're handling this, she lied smoothly. Thanks, Aunt Patricia, Deshawn said, grabbing another glass of champagne from a passing waiter. It's what Dad would have wanted, us being strong. Have you thought about the company? Your father's legacy? Keisha jumped in. We're meeting with the board next week. Obviously, we need time to grieve, but the business has to go on. Of course, Patricia smiled tightly. I'm sure you'll honor everything your father built. Absolutely, Andre agreed, already eyeing the exit. Hey, is it okay if we leave soon? We have a meeting with Dad's wealth management team. The reading of the will is tomorrow at 2 p.m., Patricia interrupted. At James Mitchell's office, all 3 of you need to be there. Obviously, Keisha said, we'll be there. Patricia watched them leave together, already talking in excited whispers about what they'd inherit. None of them noticed the homeless man outside the Symphony Center, sitting on the steps with a cardboard sign that read, Homeless, anything helps, God bless. None of them noticed him watching them with tears in his eyes. Marcus Thompson had been dead for less than 6 hours, and his children were already celebrating. Day 1 on the streets. Marcus had transformed himself completely. He'd grown out his beard for 3 weeks. It was now scraggly and gray. He wore layers of dirty clothes purchased from thrift stores and then deliberately aged with dirt and wear. His expensive watch was locked in a safe deposit box. His wedding ring was on a chain under his shirt, next to his heart. He looked like any other homeless person in Chicago. Invisible, forgotten, ignored. His corner was 3 blocks from Thompson Financial Holdings headquarters, right outside a Starbucks where many of his employees got their morning coffee. On day 1, Marcus sat on the cold concrete with his cardboard sign and a paper cup for donations. The morning rush started at 7 a.m. Hundreds of people walked past, maybe thousands. 3 people put money in his cup. 3 out of thousands. Most people looked right through him like he didn't exist. Some physically stepped around him with looks of disgust. A few teenage boys threw their trash at him, laughing. One woman stopped. "Get a job," she sneered. "Stop begging and contribute to society." Marcus wanted to tell her he'd employed 15,000 people. He'd donated $200 million to charity in the last decade. He'd contributed to society more than she ever would. But he just nodded and said, "God bless you, ma'am." By noon, he had $3.47 in his cup. He used $2 to buy a small coffee at McDonald's, the cheapest food he could find. He'd forgotten what it felt like to be hungry and unable to afford a meal. At 1 p.m., he watched employees stream out of his building for lunch. He recognized many of them, people who'd worked for him for years. Not one of them recognized him. At 3 p.m., a black SUV pulled up to the building. Deshaun got out, wearing a $5,000 suit and designer sunglasses. He was there for the emergency board meeting to discuss the transition. Deshaun walked right past his father without even glancing down. Marcus felt something break inside his chest. Not physical, emotional. His own son had walked within 3 feet of him and saw nothing but a piece of street trash to step around. At 5 p.m., Keisha left the building with her husband, Terrence. They were arguing loudly. "I'm telling you, we should sell immediately," Terrence insisted. "The market value is at its peak. And I'm telling you, we need to wait for the full valuation," Keisha shot back. "Another month won't kill us." They walked past Marcus. Keisha's Hermes purse probably cost more than some people made in a year. She didn't even see him. At 7 p.m., as the sun set and the temperature dropped, Marcus huddled in his thin jacket and wondered what he'd gotten himself into. This was day 1. He had 89 more to go. The little girl. Day 7 was when everything changed. Marcus had fallen into a routine. Wake up at 5 a.m. in the doorway where he slept. James had wanted to rent him a room, but Marcus insisted on the full experience. Walk to his corner, sit there all day, watch his building, watch his children come and go, never noticing him. At night, he'd meet with James in a different location. Each time, a 24-hour diner, a parking garage, an all-night laundromat, to report what he'd seen and heard. The news wasn't good. Deshaun had fired 200 employees to cut costs. Keisha was selling off properties Marcus had bought to help struggling neighborhoods. Andre was negotiating with a hedge fund that wanted to break up the company and sell it piece by piece. None of them mentioned their father's actual legacy or wishes. None of them seemed to care about the mission statement Marcus had built the company on. Lifting people up through financial empowerment. They only cared about the money. But day 7, that's when Marcus met Maya. She was about 8 years old. Black girl with her hair in neat braids, wearing a school uniform that had been carefully mended in several places. She walked past Marcus's corner every day at 3:30 p.m., clearly walking home from school. For 6 days, she'd glanced at him but kept walking. On day 7, she stopped. "Mister?" Her voice was small but clear. "Are you hungry?" Marcus looked up. "I'm okay, sweetheart. You should get on home now." My mama says nobody should be hungry. She opened her Little Mermaid backpack and pulled out a sandwich in a plastic bag. I didn't eat all my lunch. You can have it if you want. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. This child, who clearly didn't have much herself based on her worn shoes and mended clothes, was offering him her food. That's very kind of you, honey, but you keep it. You might get hungry later. I already ate the part I wanted. The rest is just going to get thrown away. She set it down next to him. My name is Maya. What's yours? I'm Michael. He used his middle name. Nice to meet you, Mr. Michael. I got to go. My mama gets worried if I'm late. But I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Okay, Maya. Thank you. She skipped away, her backpack bouncing. Marcus picked up the sandwich, peanut butter and jelly on cheap white bread, and started crying. When was the last time someone had given him something without wanting anything in return? When was the last time someone had seen him as a person instead of a bank account? This little girl with almost nothing had more humanity than his children with everything. Day 14. Maya's routine. Maya came every day. Sometimes she brought part of her lunch. Sometimes she brought $1 she'd earned doing chores. Once she brought a pair of gloves because it's getting cold, Mr. Michael. They talked. She told him about school. She was in 3rd grade and loved reading. She told him about her mama, Lorraine, who worked as a driver for a rich family. She told him about wanting to be a teacher someday. Why a teacher? Marcus asked. Because teachers help people learn things. And learning helps you get out of being poor. She said it matter-of-factly, like she'd heard it many times. Mama says education is the only way to break the cycle. Your mama sounds like a smart woman. She is. She works really hard. Sometimes she's so tired when she gets home, she falls asleep on the couch. But she always makes sure I do my homework first. Marcus thought about his own children, who'd had every advantage and appreciated none of it. You take care of your mama, okay? She's working hard for you. I know. That's why I'm going to be someone important someday. Make her proud. Buy her a house so she doesn't have to work so much. 8 years old, and this child understood gratitude and responsibility better than his 30-something children ever had. On day 16, Maya brought her mother. Lorraine was a woman in her mid-30s, with tired eyes but a kind face. She approached Marcus cautiously. Mr. Michael, I'm Lorraine, Maya's mother. She's been talking about you nonstop. I wanted to meet you and make sure. She trailed off, but Marcus understood. Make sure he wasn't dangerous. I understand, ma'am. You're being a good mother, watching out for your daughter. Maya says you're always nice to her, never asked her for anything, never made her uncomfortable. She's a special little girl. You're raising her right. Lorraine relaxed slightly. She wanted me to give you this. She held out a large Ziploc bag with a sandwich, an apple, and some cookies. I made extra at dinner. Ma'am, I can't take your food. Please. Maya would be heartbroken if you didn't accept it. And honestly, Lorraine looked around, lowering her voice. I know what it's like to struggle. Before I got my current job, there were times I didn't know how we'd eat. People helped us. This is me paying it forward. Marcus took the food with shaking hands. God bless you both. After they left, Marcus sat on his corner and cried. Here was a woman who probably made $30,000 a year, raising a daughter alone, and she was feeding a homeless man because people helped us. His children, worth hundreds of millions, walked past homeless people every day without a glance. The embezzlement day. 23 brought a shocking discovery. Marcus was on his corner when he saw his CFO, David Park, leave the building with Victor Hughes, the company's head of acquisitions. They stopped right near Marcus's corner to talk, not even noticing him sitting there. "The Thompson kids are idiots," Victor said bluntly. "They have no idea what's in the actual accounts." "Which works in our favor," David replied. "By the time they figure out we've been siphoning funds, we'll be in the Cayman Islands." Marcus froze, barely breathing. "How much have we gotten so far?" 27 million over the past 4 years. Marcus was so focused on expansion he never noticed the discrepancies. And now with him dead, the kids are so busy fighting over the assets, they're not actually looking at the books. "Beautiful! We'll give it another 6 months, then trigger the clause that pays out our consulting fees and disappear." They walked away, laughing. Marcus pulled out the phone James had given him, hidden in his layers of clothing, and texted, "Urgent, Park and Hughes, embezzlement, $27 million, recording conversation tomorrow." James's response came immediately. "Jesus, coming to meet you tonight. Usual place." That night in the parking garage where they met, Marcus told James everything. "I trusted David," Marcus said, his voice hollow. "He's worked for me for 15 years. I went to his daughter's wedding, for God's sake." "People can be bought, Marcus. You know that. But 27 million, and my children are so busy planning how to spend their inheritance they don't even notice the company is being robbed." James pulled up something on his tablet. "Speaking of your children, you need to see this." He showed Marcus Instagram posts from Andre's account. Pictures from a yacht party in Miami. The caption, "Celebrating life. Dad would want us to be happy. Hashtag, living my best life. Hashtag blessed." The party was 3 weeks after Marcus's funeral. "Keisha's not much better." James scrolled to her account. Pictures of designer shopping bags. "Retail therapy. Sometimes you just need to treat yourself. Hashtag self-care. Hashtag new beginnings." Deshaun's account showed him at a Lakers game, courtside seats. "Dad always said life is short, making the most of every moment. Hashtag courtside. Hashtag VIP." Marcus felt sick. "I'm sorry," James said quietly. "I know this isn't what you hoped to find. I knew they were spoiled. I knew they were entitled. But I thought maybe once I was gone, they'd step up, honor my memory, try to be better. Some people only get worse when accountability is removed." Marcus thought about Maya, sharing her meager lunch, about Lorraine, feeding a stranger because people had once helped her, about the countless homeless people he'd met in the past 3 weeks, people with stories of loss and struggle, but also of dignity and humanity. And then he thought about his children, partying and shopping while his company was being stolen from under them. "I want them to see it," Marcus said suddenly. "All of it. The embezzlement, their social media posts, the decisions they're making. I want it all documented, for the reveal, for the will reading. I'm changing everything, James. Everything." The assistant's truth day, 35, was a Sunday. Marcus didn't usually go to his corner on weekends, but he'd started walking around the city, seeing it from a homeless person's perspective. He ended up at Graceland Cemetery, where his grave was located. He wasn't sure why he went there. Morbid curiosity, maybe. What he found shocked him. Margaret Chen, his executive assistant for 20 years, was standing at his grave. She was talking to him. "Hi, Mr. Thompson. It's Margaret. I know you can't hear me, but I come here every Sunday. I tell you about the week, about what's happening at the company. I miss you." Marcus stayed hidden behind a tree, watching. "Your children fired me yesterday," Margaret continued, her voice breaking. "After 20 years, they let me go. Said they were restructuring and didn't need an executive assistant anymore. But I know the truth. I questioned some of their decisions. I told Deshaun that selling off the South Side properties went against everything you believed in. He said the old ways were dead, that I needed to adapt or leave." She wiped tears from her face. "So I'm leaving. But I wanted to tell you. I wanted you to know that I tried. I tried to protect what you built. I tried to remind them who you were, what you stood for. But they don't care, Mr. Thompson. They really don't care." Margaret knelt down, placing flowers on the grave. "You were more than my boss. You were my mentor. When my husband died and I had 2 kids to raise alone, you gave me flexibility. You paid for my daughter's college when I couldn't afford it. You showed up at my son's graduation, even though you had a board meeting that day." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. "You saw me as a person, not just an employee. And I want you to know, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget you." She stood up, touching the headstone gently. "Rest in peace, Mr. Thompson. I hope wherever you are, you know that at least one person really loved you, not your money. You." She walked away, and Marcus had to hold back sobs. He'd been so focused on his children's betrayal that he'd forgotten about people like Margaret, like Lorraine and Maya, like the security guard at his building who always asked about his weekend, like the janitor who'd worked there for 30 years and knew everyone's name. There were people who'd seen Marcus the man, not Marcus the billionaire. But none of them were his children. The worst, Discovery Day. 42. Brought the moment that almost broke Marcus. He was on his corner when a black Mercedes pulled up to the building. His daughter Keisha got out with her husband Terrence and someone else, a real estate developer named Harrison Webb. They stood right next to Marcus's corner, close enough that he could hear everything. "So you're sure about this?" Harrison asked. "Demolishing the community center. That's going to generate a lot of negative press." "My father built that center 20 years ago," Keisha said dismissively. "It's prime real estate in a gentrifying neighborhood. The land is worth 10 times what the center is worth as a charitable operation." "But don't you want to honor his legacy?" Harrison pressed. Terrence laughed. "His legacy is dead, along with him. This is about maximizing asset value." "The center serves 500 families," Harrison said. "After-school programs, job training, food bank, and it costs us $2 million a year to operate." Keisha interrupted. "That's $2 million we're losing. Sell the land to a luxury condo developer, and we make $50 million. It's basic math. What about the families who depend on it?" "That's not our problem," Terrence said coldly. Marcus had a savior complex, thought he could solve poverty with charity. We're smarter than that. You can't save everyone, so why try? They went inside, leaving Marcus sitting on the sidewalk, shaking with rage and grief. The community center was his proudest achievement. He'd grown up in that neighborhood. He knew what it meant to have a safe place to go after school, to have adults who cared, to have access to resources that could change your life. That center had saved lives, literally. Kids who would have ended up in gangs instead went to college. Single mothers who would have been homeless instead got job training and found work, and his daughter was going to destroy it for a profit margin. Marcus pulled out his phone with trembling hands and texted James. "Emergency meeting. Tonight. I can't do this anymore." That night, the breaking point. "I want to end this," Marcus told James. "I want to reveal myself, take back the company, and fix this before they destroy everything." "Marcus, you've only been dead for 6 weeks. The plan was 90 days. I've seen enough. My daughter is destroying the community center. My sons are selling off properties to their friends for kickbacks. David Park is embezzling millions. And none of them, have shown 1 ounce of genuine grief or respect for my memory." James was quiet for a moment. "There's something else. Something I need to show you." He pulled up a video on his laptop. "Patricia recorded this at your mansion yesterday. The kids were going through your personal items, deciding what to keep and what to trash. Marcus watched as his children went through his study. Deshawn picked up a photo of Marcus and Angela on their wedding day. "Should we keep this?" he asked. "Why?" Keisha replied. "It's not worth anything. Just throw it out. What about Dad's Medal of Honor from the city? Trash it. Nobody cares about that stuff." They threw away photos, awards, personal letters, everything that represented Marcus's actual life and values. They kept only things with monetary value: watches, cufflinks, expensive art. At one point, Andre picked up Marcus's journal, 40 years of thoughts, dreams, and reflections. "What's this?" He flipped through it. "Dad's diary or something," Keisha said. "Trash it. Shouldn't we read it? Might be important. It's the rambling of a dead old man. Throw it away." They threw it in a garbage bag, with everything else they deemed worthless. Marcus watched the video with tears streaming down his face. They'd thrown away his memories, his history, his heart. They'd kept his Rolex collection. "I'm sorry," James said quietly, "but you needed to see it. You needed to know." 90 days, Marcus whispered. "I'll finish the 90 days. Because I want to document every single thing they do. And then, at the will reading, I want them to see it all. Every betrayal, every cruel decision, every moment they chose money over humanity. And then they get exactly what they deserve. Nothing." The Angel's family. As Marcus's time on the streets continued, his bond with Maya and Lorraine deepened. Day 52 fell on Thanksgiving. Maya came to his corner early that morning with her mother. "Mr. Michael, you can't be alone on Thanksgiving," Maya insisted. "Mama says you have to come eat with us." "Sweetheart, I can't impose." "It's not imposing," Lorraine said firmly. "We have plenty, and nobody should be alone on Thanksgiving. Please." Marcus wanted to refuse. He was a billionaire pretending to be homeless. This woman had so little, and he had so much hidden away. But he also knew that refusing would hurt them, and he genuinely wanted to spend time with the only people who'd shown him real kindness in 2 months. Their apartment was tiny, a one-bedroom in a building that should have been condemned years ago. But it was clean and filled with love. Maya had drawn pictures that covered the walls. There was library books stacked neatly on a shelf. Photos of Maya growing up covered the refrigerator. "It's not much," Lorraine apologized, "but it's home. It's beautiful," Marcus said honestly. Dinner was simple, a small turkey, probably the cheapest one Lorraine could find. Mashed potatoes, green beans, rolls, but it was made with love. As they ate, Maya told Marcus about her school play, about her best friend Jennifer, about her dreams of going to college someday. "I'm saving money," she announced proudly. "I have $47 in my piggy bank. Mama says if I save enough, I can help pay for college." Marcus's heart broke. This child thought $47 would help with college, and she was proud of it. "That's very responsible," he managed to say. After dinner, Maya fell asleep on the couch. Lorraine and Marcus sat at the tiny kitchen table, drinking coffee. "Can I ask you something?" Lorraine said quietly. "And you don't have to answer if you don't want to." "Of course. You're not like the other homeless people I've met. You speak differently, educated, and sometimes you seem like you're observing everything, like you're studying people." Marcus's heart raced. Had he been discovered? "Who are you really, Mr. Michael?" He considered lying, but this woman had shown him nothing but kindness. She deserved honesty. "I'm someone who lost everything," he said carefully. "Someone who needed to understand what really matters in life. And I'm finding out that the people with the least often have the most." Lorraine studied his face. "You're running from something, or searching for something. Both. Will you tell me someday the real story? If I can, when I can." She nodded. Fair enough, but I want you to know, whatever you're going through, whatever brought you to that corner, you're a good man. I can tell. Maya can tell. And when you're ready to go back to whatever life you came from, I hope you remember us. I could never forget you, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. You and Maya, you've reminded me what it means to be human. The final days, day 85, 5 days left. Marcus had documented everything, the embezzlement, his children's callous decisions, their social media posts celebrating while he was supposedly mourning, the community center sale, Margaret's firing, the disposal of his personal belongings. He'd also documented the good, Maya's daily visits, Lorraine's kindness, the security guard who sometimes brought him coffee, the janitor who'd left him a blanket one cold night. He knew now who deserved to inherit his legacy. On day 87, something extraordinary happened. Marcus was on his corner when a limousine pulled up. His sister Patricia got out. She walked straight to him. "Hello, brother," she said quietly. Marcus looked up, shocked. They'd agreed she wouldn't contact him during the 90 days except in emergencies. "Patricia, what are you? Your children just made a decision. I thought you should know before the will reading." She sat down next to him on the cold sidewalk, not caring about her expensive coat. "They're selling the entire company to a conglomerate. They signed the papers this morning. Thompson Financial Holdings, everything you built over 40 years, will be dissolved. The brand will disappear. 15,000 employees will lose their jobs." Marcus felt like he'd been punched. "They can't do that. The board. They voted out the old board members, replaced them with people who will do whatever Deshawn wants. The sale goes through in 30 days unless someone with majority ownership blocks it. But I own 60% of the company. They only have 40% between them. They think you're dead, Marcus. They think they inherited your 60%, which means they think they have 100% and can do whatever they want." Marcus stood up, his whole body shaking. "The will reading is in 3 days. I know. They're going to discover they don't own what they think they own. I know. And 15,000 people are going to keep their jobs." Patricia smiled. "I know. That's why I came to tell you. I thought you'd want to know that your plan, as crazy as it was, it worked. You found out who they really are, and now you can stop them." After Patricia left, Marcus sat back down on his corner and closed his eyes. He'd done it. 90 days of cold hunger, humiliation, and heartbreak. But he'd done it. He knew the truth now, about his children, about his employees, about the strangers who'd shown him kindness and the friends who'd shown him loyalty. And in 3 days, everyone else would know the truth, too. The will reading day, 90, arrived. The day of the will reading. Marcus woke up in his doorway for the last time. He walked to his corner for the last time. He sat there with his cardboard sign for the last time. Maya came by at 3:30, like clockwork. "Mr. Michael, guess what? I got an A on my book report." "That's wonderful, sweetheart. And Mama got a bonus at work, $50 whole. She says we can get pizza this weekend." Marcus smiled through his tears. This child was excited about a $50 bonus and pizza, while his children were about to discover they'd lost billions. "Maya, can I tell you something?" "Sure. You're going to hear some news soon. About a man named Marcus Thompson. He was a rich man who died." "Oh, that's sad." "Yes. But the thing is, that man before he died, he met some very special people. A little girl who shared her lunch, a woman who invited him to Thanksgiving, people who showed him kindness when they had no reason to. That's nice. And he wanted to make sure those people were taken care of, so he left them something in his will." Maya looked confused. "What do you mean?" "You'll understand soon. But I want you to know, that man, Marcus Thompson, He thought you and your mama were the best people he'd ever met, and he's grateful he got to know you. Okay, Mr. Michael, she hugged him. I got to go. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, sweet girl. But she wouldn't, because tomorrow, Marcus would be alive again. 3 p.m., James Mitchell's law office. Deshawn, Keisha, and Andre Thompson sat in the conference room, barely containing their excitement. This was it, the moment they'd been waiting for. The reading of their father's will. Thank you all for coming, James said formally. We're here for the reading of Marcus Thompson's last will and testament. Let's get on with it, Deshawn said impatiently. There are a few other beneficiaries who need to be present, James said. They're on their way. Other beneficiaries? Keisha frowned. Who? The conference room door opened. Patricia walked in, followed by Margaret Chen, then Lorraine and Maya, then several other people the Thompson children didn't recognize. The security guard from the building, the janitor, several longtime employees. What is this? Andre demanded. These are the people named in your father's will, James said calmly. That's ridiculous. Why would Dad leave anything to... The door opened again. Marcus Thompson walked in. Not homeless Marcus with the scraggly beard and dirty clothes. Marcus in a suit, clean-shaven, alive. The room exploded. Oh my God! Keisha screamed. What the... Dad! Deshawn jumped to his feet. Andre just stared, his mouth open. Hello, children, Marcus said quietly. You're alive! But how? The funeral, the death certificate. Keisha was hyperventilating. Was fake, all of it. Marcus sat down at the head of the table. I've been alive for the past 90 days. I've been watching, learning, seeing who you all really are. This is insane! Deshawn shouted. You faked your death. Do you know what we've been through? What you've been through. Marcus's voice was ice. Tell me, Deshawn, what exactly have you been through? Because from where I was sitting, on a street corner, dressed as a homeless man, it looked like you've been through yacht parties and Lakers games. The color drained from Deshawn's face. That's right. I saw everything. I heard everything. For 90 days I was invisible. And do you know what I learned? Marcus pulled out a folder. I learned that you, Deshawn, fired 200 employees 3 days after my funeral, so you could give yourself a $5 million bonus. He turned to Keisha. I learned that you, Keisha, sold the South Side properties, the ones I bought specifically to prevent gentrification, to luxury developers for personal profit. He turned to Andre. And you, Andre, negotiated to sell the entire company. 40 years of work, 15,000 jobs. You were going to destroy it all for a quick payout. Dad, we can explain, Keisha started. No, Marcus's voice was firm. You can't explain. I watched you throw away my personal belongings like trash. I heard you planning my company's destruction before I was even buried. I saw you partying while Margaret, he gestured to his former assistant, was crying at my grave every Sunday. Margaret was crying now, but this time from shock and relief. For 90 days I sat on a street corner, Marcus continued. Thousands of people walked past me. Most didn't even see me. But a few, a precious few, they saw me. They helped me. He gestured to Maya and Lorraine. This little girl shared her lunch with me every day. Her mother invited me to Thanksgiving dinner. They have almost nothing, but they gave me everything. Maya looked up at Marcus, her eyes wide. Mr. Michael? Marcus smiled at her gently. Hello, Maya. You're the rich man who died. I'm the rich man who learned what really matters. He turned back to his children. So, here's what's going to happen. James, please read the will. James cleared his throat. I, Marcus Thompson, being of sound mind and body, do hereby. Wait, Andre interrupted. "You can't do this. We have rights." "You have nothing," Marcus said coldly. "The will was written before I died. It's legally binding. James continued. "To my children, Deshawn, Keisha, and Andre Thompson, I leave the sum of $1 each, to be split among them." "What?" All three children shouted at once. "You're leaving us $3! Keisha was shrieking now. "That's more than you deserve," Marcus said. "But your mother would have wanted you to have something. So you get $1 each. What you do with it is up to you." "This is illegal! We'll fight this!" Deshawn threatened. "Try it," James said calmly. "The will is airtight. I've been preparing for this for 90 days. "Then who gets everything?" Andre demanded. "Who gets the billions?" Marcus stood up. "To Margaret Chen, my loyal assistant of 20 years, I leave $10 million and a seat on my company's board of directors." Margaret gasped, covering her mouth. "To Lorraine Washington, I leave $10 million, a full scholarship fund for her daughter Maya's education, from kindergarten through PhD, and the deed to a house in Lincoln Park." Lorraine fainted. Patricia caught her. "To Maya Washington, I leave a trust fund of $25 million, to be accessed when she turns 21. Until then, the interest will be used to support her education and well-being." Maya looked at her mother, confused. "Mama, what does that mean?" "It means we're going to be okay, baby," Lorraine whispered, tears streaming down her face. "It means everything is going to be okay." "To the Thompson Family Foundation," Marcus continued, "which will be established today, I leave $1 billion to continue operating the community center, the scholarship programs, and all charitable works in perpetuity." "You're giving $1 billion to charity!" Keisha screamed. "I'm giving it to people who actually help other people, unlike my children." Marcus pulled out his phone and displayed a video on the conference room screen. "For the past 90 days I've been recording your conversations, your decisions, your complete disregard for everything I built and believed in." The screen showed Deshawn on his yacht. "Dad's dead, time to party." Showed Keisha selling the South Side properties. "Who cares about poor people? This is business." Showed Andre. "We'll fire everyone and pocket the difference." "The world is going to see this," Marcus said. "Every news outlet, every social media platform, everyone will know who you really are." "You can't do this to us." Deshawn lunged at his father. Security guards stepped forward, blocking him. "I can, and I am. You're no longer welcome in my company. You're no longer welcome in my life. You wanted your inheritance. This is it. $1, and the knowledge that you failed the only test that ever mattered." "What test?" Keisha was sobbing now. "The test of character, the test of humanity, the test of seeing past money to what actually matters." Marcus looked at them sadly. "I gave you everything, and you became nothing." He turned to the others in the room. "These people, Margaret, Lorraine, Maya, and all the others I've named in the will, they have very little. But they gave me everything when I needed it most. They didn't know I was rich. They helped me because it was right, because they're good people." Marcus walked to Maya and knelt down to her level. "You shared your lunch with a homeless man every single day. Do you know why that matters? Because everyone deserves to eat?" Maya said simply. "Because you saw me as a person, not as someone beneath you or invisible, as a person who mattered." He stood up. "That's the lesson I tried to teach my children for 40 years, and they never learned it." He looked at Deshawn, Keisha, and Andre one last time. "You're my children, and some part of me will always love you. But I don't like who you are, and I won't reward cruelty, greed, and disrespect with billions of dollars." "Dad, please," Andre was crying now. "We'll change. We'll be better." "No. You had 90 days to be better. You had my entire lifetime to be better. You chose not to be. Now live with your choices." Marcus turned to James. "The remaining assets, my company shares, my properties, my investments. How much is that worth?" "Approximately $2.1 billion after the charitable donations and individual bequests. I want it all put into the Marcus and Angela Thompson Trust, to be used for financial literacy programs, small business loans for low-income entrepreneurs, college scholarships, and support for homeless services." He paused. "Everything I wanted my children to care about. The trust will handle." He looked at Patricia. "You'll run the trust?" "It would be my honor," Patricia said, glaring at her niece and nephews. "Then it's settled." Marcus stood. "Deshawn, Keisha, Andre, you can leave now. You're no longer part of this family's legacy." "You'll regret this," Keisha screamed as security escorted them out. "You'll regret this." But Marcus wouldn't regret it. For the first time in years, he felt at peace. Epilogue. 1 year later, Marcus Thompson stood in the newly renovated community center, the one Keisha had tried to sell. It now had a state-of-the-art computer lab, a full library, an after-school program, and a job training center. The sign above the door read, "The Angela Thompson Community Center, where everyone matters." Maya ran up to him, wearing her new school uniform from the private school she now attended on full scholarship. "Mr. Marcus, look!" She showed him her report card. "All A's. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Mama says I need to work hard because you believed in me, so I'm working really hard." Lorraine approached, looking healthy and rested. She'd quit her exhausting job as a driver and now ran the community center's job training program. "Thank you," she said to Marcus for the 1,000th time, "for everything." "Thank you," Marcus replied, "for reminding me what matters." Margaret walked over, carrying a folder. "The board meeting is in an hour. The quarterly reports are ready. How's the company doing?" "Best year in our history." Turns out when you treat employees well and focus on ethical business practices, people actually want to work with you. She smiled. "Who knew?" Marcus laughed. Patricia joined them. The trust just funded its 500th small business loan. That's 500 families who now have a path to financial independence. "Mom," Maya called out, "can I go play in the gym?" "Sure, baby." As Maya ran off, Marcus watched the community center fill with families, kids doing homework in the library, adults learning job skills, seniors attending a financial literacy class. This was his legacy. Not billions in a bank account, not his name on a building. People helped lift it up, given chances they wouldn't have had otherwise. "Do you ever hear from them?" Patricia asked quietly. "Your children?" "Deshawn sent a letter last month, apologizing. Says he's working at a car dealership now, selling used cars, making an honest living for the first time in his life." "What did you do?" I wrote back, told him I was proud of him for working, that if he keeps at it for a year, proves he's serious about changing, I'll help him start his own business. A small one, but his own. And the others. Keisha is still angry, threatening lawsuits that go nowhere. Andre. Marcus sighed. "Andre hasn't contacted me at all. I'm sorry. Don't be. I gave them every chance. They made their choices." He smiled, watching Maya laugh as she played basketball with other kids. "But I got to meet Maya and Lorraine, and I got to see what real character looks like. That's worth more than anything." 5 years later, Maya Washington stood at the podium at her high school graduation. She was 13 now, graduating early after skipping 2 grades. She'd been accepted to MIT with a full scholarship. Though she didn't need it, her trust fund could have paid for any school in the world. "I want to thank Mr. Marcus Thompson," she said to the crowd. "When I was 8 years old, I met a homeless man on the street. I shared my lunch with him because my mama taught me that everyone deserves kindness. I didn't know that man was secretly a billionaire testing his family. I just knew he looked hungry. She paused, emotion thick in her voice. What I learned is that small acts of kindness matter. Sharing a sandwich, offering a smile, seeing people as people, not as their circumstances. Mr. Marcus taught me that the richest person isn't the one with the most money. It's the one with the most love to give. In the audience, Marcus wiped away tears. So I'm going to MIT to study engineering, and when I graduate, I'm coming back here to this community. I'm going to build things that help people. I'm going to create jobs. I'm going to make sure kids like me, kids who start with nothing, have a chance to become something. The crowd erupted in applause. After the ceremony, Maya hugged Marcus tightly. Thank you for seeing me, Mr. Marcus, for seeing all of us. Thank you for teaching me to see, Marcus replied. As the party celebrated Maya's achievement, Marcus looked around at the faces of the people whose lives had changed because of one simple decision: to spend 90 days as a homeless man. He'd lost 3 children that he thought he knew, but he'd gained a family that actually mattered. And in the end, that was the greatest inheritance of all.